In the year 2028, J.J. Abrams still has no idea what to do with the Cloverfield universe. This is spoilers.
This is spoilers.
Hey
burn,
everybody.
JJ.
Hey, Stevie.
How's
What's up,
everybody
brah?
feeling tonight? Post Super Bowl, post Tom Brady losing again in the Super Bowl.
Sad and angry.
Yeah.
As far as stats go, I saw Bill Belichick, one of only 3 coaches to lose 3 times
Must be the
in a Super Bowl.
worst coach of all time.
Terrible coach.
Worst coach of all time.
Joe Montana never lost coaching a Super Bowl.
Well, today I'm your host, Stevie, and today we will be talking about the Cloverfield Paradox, which debuted its trailer and aired.
During the Super
aired
Bowl.
within 3 hours of that trailer on Netflix.
You watched it night of?
I watched it night of. Anybody else watch it night of, or?
I literally just finished it 5 minutes before we started.
I finished like a half an hour before Pappy finished.
Oh,
so I'm
jeez.
still fresh.
So did you guys see any of the critical bashing on it, or did you guys go into it pretty blind?
It was tough to avoid. I mean, it
was big news.
I tried to go into it with open eyes, but also I think Paramount normally distributes these, and a couple days ago, I even tweeted from spoilers saying they're offloading it to Netflix. It's going to be a mess, and turns out it kind of was.
It kind of was. There's a lot going on in this movie, and it also featured one of the most annoying things in movie history. But we will get into that in a little minute. IMDb description describes this as orbiting a planet on the brink of war. Scientists test a device to solve an energy crisis and end up face to face with a dark alternate reality. Were any of you guys surprised at the cast in this movie? Because I had no idea who was even going to be in this godforsaken movie. I thought the cast was pretty solid. You guys?
Yeah, there's some recognizable people in this movie. Like Chris O'Dowd is relatively famous. He's been in more comedy movies, but I thought
he was in a comedy movie.
Yeah. Daniel Bruhl's a pretty good actor. He was the guy that played Schmidt, but as far as everybody else, I don't really know any of these
It's
other
got a
people.
big cast for a Cloverfield movie. Comparing it to 10 Cloverfield Lane or even the original Cloverfield, those are a lot smaller stories. You know what I mean? It's only 4 or 5 people. This had a crew. Then it also had people down on Earth. It was a lot more broad than we're used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see David Oyelowo. I don't know his name. Didn't he play Martin Luther King?
I don't know. He was in Selma, right?
Yeah, he played Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a really good job in that. He was also in this as the captain of the ship. But not to get too sciencey with it, the year's 2028. The Earth is dying. The energy wars are upon us. People are siphoning energy. There's blackouts 5 times a day. And our main character, whose name is Hamilton. I can't remember her first name. Played by...
Alexander.
As in the play, yeah.
Played by Gugu Bathara. I'm guessing she got married. There's a hyphen in there. I'm not for certain.
Mabathara.
But,
maybe.
fuck was that?
Oh.
Was that me?
I tried to say Mabathara. That's all I said.
It sounded like
Fuck you
technical
guys.
difficulties
Yeah, for
the way
real.
you pronounced it.
Sound like the Cloverfield monster in the mic.
Fuck you guys. But I don't know. I mean, she was decent. She wasn't bad.
I thought she was a really good actress. But yeah, she's married to this, her husband's a doctor. He's down on Earth. And she goes up into space with a crew, with a Russian, a German, I'm guessing a Brazilian, The lady from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Is it really?
And yeah, it's CG Zhang.
Huh.
Yeah, I know.
The brightest scientific minds are all
Ever.
on this
Dude,
spaceship.
yeah.
And it's
If this is supposed to be the smartest person from each country, no wonder they're so fucked. Like, they're so terrible. None of them taking it seriously. They're all like infighting.
yeah, they're playing foosball when they should be working. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, Russian dude hates German dude, doesn't trust him. So they're working with this giant accelerator in space because from the explanation we got, it was too dangerous to test on Earth.
I have no idea. It's like a giant exposition jump, like dump over a newscast. Like,
That's what I was going to say is the most annoying thing in the world. Do you want to get into that, Pap?
well, I mean, yeah, like it's so forced because like they're in the lines like, oh no, it's the 4th blackout today. Like at the beginning, like you're getting so much information, and then like I was just like, what really pissed me off the most is like when they're in the space station. And then, like, they have, like, Breitbart News Network on or something. And there's, like, some crazy guy on the TV saying,
That's pretty much Fox
yeah,
News.
if they launch this thing, it's going to release interdimensional child molester demons to Earth or something.
Globalists!
Yeah.
He was basically he was basically describing the plot to the Doom video games. Just
I was like, so this is how
demons.
they answer it? Like, if we go back and listen to our 10 Cloverfield Lane episode, we're, like, speculating, you know, like, oh, is this, like, an anthology? Or is this, like, one big universe? Like, what's the timeline between the first and the second one? It's like, no, they don't give a fuck. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, these guys in some dimension launched something, and that's what set all of the events in motion. I was pissed. It's all right.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I was so pumped after 10 Cloverfield Lane because I was like, I pray there'll never be a connection to any of the movies in that they can just all do their standalone films with the Cloverfield, like kind of like moniker in there, like Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was thrown completely out the window.
Well, they even have like the Slusho bobblehead thing or whatever, which is like supposed to be like an evil company. So it's like, spoiler alert, like the whole reason the monster comes out, like it's not like a cautionary tale. It's not like, you know, companies are greedy or like the aliens were invading. It's just like, oh, some people in some dimension were like literally trying to keep everyone from starving to death, and that's what causes all of the monsters and all of the worlds to come out. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, so there's a lot of exposition at play here. There's a backstory of our main character losing her 2 children to her siphoning energy and burning the house down.
It's like what was that Casey Affleck movie?
Oh,
Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
But overall, the entire plot of the movie is
yeah.
Geostorm.
Oh yeah.
It's exactly like Geostorm.
Everyone from different countries go into space to try and save the world. But long story short, they're freaking out because they only have enough. I'm guessing fuel and resources to launch that thing like 3 more times. And when they launch it into the movie, it finally starts to work. Giant bright light goes. The particle accelerator flashes. Goes unstable. Surges too hard. Blackout in the ship. And everything goes to hell. Mikey, what was the first indication that everything was going to hell?
Well, they lose gravity on the spaceship, and they're kind of like getting tossed around, and glass explodes on like all the computer consoles and stuff. But then there's a fire on one of the space decks, and I guess they go and take care of that, and I guess things are okay for a little while after that, right?
But
Well, yeah, because I thought they put a goddamn monster on there. All you hear is these roars throughout all the halls, and people are going to investigate it. And a new character pops up out of fucking nowhere.
But not before they realize that they're not in there. They think they're lost in space for a second.
Oh, when the Earth is gone?
That part actually kind of freaked me out because that's like a big fear of mine is like floating away into space and like when they think they're like...
That's a fear?
Well, if I was on a spaceship, it would be.
When are you going to space?
I don't know. Have you seen Gravity? George Clooney. It's terrifying. But that's kind of what happens to them. And then it's like... all of a sudden there's that screaming that you talked about, and there's like a girl caught up in the wires. Like she fused with the
ship.
Yeah.
She has like rods in her legs and shoulders and wiring throughout her body.
And spoiler alert, goes from that condition to immediately like back into super spy mode. Like we gotta sabotage this thing. Like doesn't miss a beat. Oh, I'm in a new dimension now? Fuck it. I don't even care. Let's go.
Yeah, this is character Jensen, played by Elizabeth Debicki. She was in Guardians. She was in what the hell is that spy movie called with Harry Cavill? Man from Uncle. She's a Man from Uncle. She's got to be at least 6'5", but she is one tall broad.
She is big.
She recognizes everyone on the ship. No one recognizes her.
More like Elizabeth Dothraki. Sorry, because she's tall. Go ahead.
Interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, she recognizes everyone. No one recognizes her. And because of that stupid news, that news exposition we see of, you're unlocking demons and ghosts and monsters.
They're gonna fly through the portals and take your children.
Globalist! She's comes down to that two dimensions merged, and our main characters are now in a different dimension, and they are in Earth 2, which why did she end up on the ship? I thought she crashed.
Why does her presence also cause like a bunch of supernatural shit to happen too?
This is the stuff.
Is
I
the universe
explain.
trying to correct itself? Is that what's going on?
It's a glitch in the Matrix.
It's something I could think of. I don't know.
That's the paradox.
And it was just her. That's what I don't understand. Like, wouldn't there be other crew members?
Well, they crashed and died, but why is it just her?
And apparently that crashing is what is in the first Cloverfield. Like when you see that thing fall to the beach, it's supposed to be like the same beach. So like somehow that was Earth, like as we know it, because all of that. Yeah, because all that had to have happened.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, though.
Well, hear me out. I think that had like Katie Dothraki or Elizabeth Dothraki is from Earth, our Earth, because she blames the other crew for setting things into motion, and like I think she's basically saying that like you caused. Well, I guess it doesn't make sense because then where does that thing crash land? Earth 2? I don't know.
Well, no. I have an idea of what that is, but I don't think that's what that is because this takes place in 2028, and the first Cloverfield actually took place in 2008.
But are we assuming that a monster happened in this universe already? I don't know.
I have an idea of how that worked out, but they kind of explain it in that stupid Fox News thing. But there's a lot of weird shit that happens. I mean, Russian dude starts... So here's what I kind of took down from it. Russian dude starts going nuts, and he fused with his second self. Is that what happened? Did Earth 1 Russian and Earth 2 Russian come together, and that's why he was talking to himself?
Why is he full of worms, then?
I thought he was maybe like... Well, because he was like trying to take over the ship, right? So I thought maybe he was like an actual Russian spy or something, maybe, because he was... It was like he was like Manchurian candidating himself in the mirror. He's like talking to himself. And then he like, something clicked and then he 3D printed that gun. And then he just tried to take over the spaceship. I don't know.
He went to kill Schmidt.
But then the worms thing. Yeah, the worm thing.
Or
Doesn't
all
make any
the
sense.
Well, I
antagonists
think it's kind of like what.
are like the most stereotypical American antagonists. Like you got the Germans, then you got the Chinese, then you got the Russians. It's like real creative choices. Yeah.
And then the American captain sacrifices himself in an honorable way towards the end to try and
Sorry,
save
Steve,
the whole
what were you
crew.
gonna say?
It's a very pro-American movie. I think that worm thing was kind of like what happened with Jensen, where she fused with the ship, whereas like the Russian, like when he went to the second portal, fused with the worms and his second self. He kind of got a raw deal.
And then Chris O'Dowd, only his arm fused or something. And the other arm came through and was like
I don't
crawling
understand why
around.
the ship kept trying to kill him.
What was the arm's name in Adam's Family? That's what it looked like.
Oh, Gomez?
No, the arm that was just in the box that would pop up. And like, I'm going to look that up. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm kind of looking it up too because
There's like an arm in a
Adam's
box.
Family
Yeah.
Hand.
Maybe it was the Munsters.
I think it was the Adams Family.
And he would just like
Well,
nod.
Thing? Is this called Thing?
Yeah, Thing. Yeah. He's got like a
Thing T Thing.
the Thing. His Thing hand comes through from the other dimension, and then like has the wherewithal to like write them a note, and it's alive and stuff. Like it creates its own mind. Like that's what pisses me off. Is like the more you think about this movie, the dumber it gets.
Yeah, they took off his arm, and then they trapped the arm, and then the arm was like, "Hey, bruh, I want to write something. Grab me a pen." And they instantly recognized, like, he wants to write something. And in perfect handwriting, super, like, legible, and size, it says to cut open the Russian. And he's full of worms. And for some godforsaken reason, dude, this Russian got the raw deal of everything. I mean, he ended up with a sphere inside him. Their compass.
Which made no sense at all.
It makes no
again.
sense.
Is it just supposed to be like shocking? Like, is it supposed to be like gross out? Like, but at the same time, you got
Well, he was like the compass guy, wasn't he? He was like the guy in charge of it, so maybe he's just him being close to the thing when it was shot off. Wasn't he the compass guy?
I guess, but you also
charge
have the
of it?
worms too,
Maybe.
right? I don't know. But then like,
Yeah,
at the same time, you got Chris O'Dowd like cracking one-liners, like, "Oh, I'll give you a hand to the arm" or something. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
what is the tone of this movie? I'm so confused. How am I supposed to feel?
Yeah, and there's also that it's kind of like a carryover between two dimensions getting messed up, but Earth 2 version of the German Schmidt was evil, and he was just sabotaging the mission the whole time, and Earth ended up going into total war because they failed because of him. And so there's kind of that carryover of like his logs talking to Germany with him. This movie's very confusing, has a lot going on. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Well, it wasn't just that Earth had gone to war. I think that like
Yeah.
2028 Earth had also been infested by the monsters, right? Like,
well, I'll get to that.
because they're saying like these things are everywhere and stuff. Like,
Well, that was Earth 1.
oh Jesus, you're right. Okay, my bad. Earth 1.
That was Earth 1, Pat.
But did Earth 2 go to war yet? I thought everything was okay.
Yeah, Earth 2 was
I
in a
thought
14-month world war.
Earth 2 was in
Oh.
like total war.
I
Yeah.
missed that part.
Yeah, they were in a 14th month world war, and America's president was named like Usamov, or it was a Russian name. So I figured that Russia took over America.
Then why is that evil tall woman trying to get the main character to go back to that Earth if everything's to shit?
Because she's trying to save their planet in that dimension and not go back to the other one.
Oh, I guess. It's so confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of like when she was like trying to kill. She's like, I'd rather kill 8 people than 8 billion. She wants to save her Earth.
using that ship. That's the plan.
Yeah, using that ship that kept just creating the craziest shit. Will you guys explain this to me? There was a moment where she was laying in the hospital bed and she was talking to that character Monk. Did she know him from the other dimension? Like that Monk?
Did she say something like specifically that you?
Yeah, she said something along the
referencing?
lines of like, "I know you're here too," or something like that. I don't know. It was
She
really
did.
weird.
I kind of remember that, but there's like a lot of those little misdirections because at one point the Chinese woman and the German guy who speaks with an English accent for much of the movie are like off like scheming and plotting, but it turns out it was just like not like nefarious. They were just off probably banging.
Yeah.
They're just off working.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, when he says like for her to meet him on the deck,
yeah.
like we need to talk about this and get this done. You're like, oh, here comes the evil German, but no, he just wanted to get stuff done. You know, those hardworking Germans.
Can we talk
trying to
about
remember
the
who
plot where
dies.
the Chinese woman says, "Or some dumplings"? My mouth was
Pap,
agape.
Talk about it.
I forget. Like they think they think they're being saved, but they're really being saved by Earth 2, or they find Earth 2, and they're like in their celebration. Like the Irish guy is of course a drunk. He's like, "Send up some booze," and then the Chinese woman goes, "Or some dumplings." I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, are you kidding me? Like it's like so stereotype based humor. It's terrible.
The worst stereotypes of their ethnicity. Send them up.
Send up some booze and some dumplings. Jesus.
And the Russian guy cut open on the table. Send some vodka.
But yeah, people start dropping like flies at this point. Was the Chinese lady next? Where she froze to death in like a second?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, she's I forget what she's trying to do, but
Yeah.
the
an
water
interesting
pipes
death.
break. I thought this was actually a pretty cool shot. And she's drowning in this tank, and people are trying to bang and get her out, break the glass. Nothing's working. Trying to pull it open, and eventually that tank, which is like leading directly outside, bursts open, and she freezes.
That was cool.
Did you guys think that shot looked pretty cool?
I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't understand what
Me
room
neither.
she was in. That was just
yeah,
filling
where's
up
that
with
water coming from? I didn't know if it was like ghost water or real water.
Well, remember when that Russian dude at the beginning was like, he makes sure
Yeah.
the pipes are up to task, and he's like super high on maintenance, so everything runs, and nothing's ever leaked. And when he dies, everything goes to hell.
That might actually be some halfway decent writing, I guess.
Mm.
But
Yeah, it's also kind of like they're in Dimension 2 at this point, right?
Yep.
Yeah. This is a really muddied movie.
Okay, what about Chris
Um,
O'Dowd's death? Where like he's in the basement, they're like, all right, no sparks, so you're gonna go up like a kite. So of course there's gonna be some sparks. But
Kaboom!
But before that, like I think like the mold on the wall turns into like Beetlejuice claymation hands and like grabs him or something. Doesn't that happen? In
I
this
thought-
scene?
No, this is
Oh,
this
okay.
was his tool
yeah,
that he
it was
used
like that.
throughout the whole
When-
movie.
okay,
you know
when
that
does the-
stuff they put on fan boats that never leaks?
Yeah,
He's like-
yeah.
You know those stupid infomercials?
Yeah, he was
That's
putting
what it
on
was.
like sealant stuff.
That super rubber shit.
But that shit looks like crap when it's trying to like look like it grab him.
But it made no.
or whatever it's doing.
I think the universe is trying to correct
That's
itself.
the thing. Why is it trying to grab him?
That's the only thing I could think of.
Why is it trying to grab him? It's not alive. It's like metal. It's like liquid metal or whatever. I don't understand how it
Yeah,
grabbed
there was
him.
like a gravity force field trying to
Made no
stab
sense.
This movie is a serious problem because like it doesn't like what are we supposed to be scared of? Like what's the threat here? Is it space? Is it nature? Is it space time? Is it the German? Is it
him. Is it the German?
is it the war on Earth? Is it
It's
is
always the Germans.
it the fucking
It's always the
dumplings?
German.
Like, what is the negative force that we're trying to fight against? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like in both of the other Cloverfields, you either have like a monster or like you have like John Goodman. Like this movie just
Twerking.
yeah. At least that movie had moments of levity. This movie like thinks it's a comedy half the time. Like it's just so all over the place with the threats and the tone and everything. It's just a mess.
Mhm.
It is very all over the place. Chinese lady goes. Next, like Mikey said, our American captain has to sacrifice himself before the ship literally destroys itself. He's a goner. Jensen kills Monk with a gun, shoots Schmidt. As I said, this movie ends very abruptly, and it's also very muddied. And long story short, Hamilton ends up sending Jensen out into space. Her and Schmidt get into an escape pod. Well, first they use the accelerator again. They go back to Earth 1. They use an escape pod. And the most useless part of this whole movie is Hamilton's husband.
Why is that in this
Like,
movie?
why is that in this movie? Like, why is him finding a girl, like, important and taking her to a bunker?
And then is that supposed to be like a reference to 10 Cloverfield Lane? Like, oh, they go to a bunker.
I don't know. I was wondering if it was a reference to the first one or something.
I had no idea.
I don't know, but
Yeah, and he gets on the phone with NASA, and NASA's like, hey, we found your boo. All is good. And he starts freaking out, saying, don't send them back to these things. Don't send them back. Don't send them back. And when the pod is falling to Earth, we see a line of clouds. And this monster's head pokes above the clouds and gives a mighty roar, and that's the end of the movie.
The monster from the first Cloverfield, right?
It's not the same monster.
It's not? I
Yeah.
thought it was.
No, heavens no.
I thought it was.
sure?
That monster is only like 300 feet tall. Do you know what the lowest cloud line is? I was looking this up earlier. The lowest cloud line is 6,000 feet.
Maybe it was like shooting up from the brink.
The highest cloud line is like 18 to 20,000 feet.
There's just a fucking 20,000 foot monster that awakened from the depths and is about to tear shit
That's
up.
not the same monster.
But I'm saying, so there's like another monster that's 20,000 feet, like, tall.
I mean, I guess.
Earth is fucked.
They couldn't even kill the first one in the first Cloverfield.
No, they did kill that one.
With a nuclear bomb on New York.
Yeah, they did.
So they killed everybody in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, I can handle all the weird space stuff, but it doesn't explain how the monsters end up on Earth at the end. Still.
So that stupid Alex Jones character was talking about
Galactical planetary molesters.
exactly. It was talking about how if they use that machine, it can open up dimensions in the future, through time, and in the past. So, in that Earth we saw in this movie is not the same Earth we saw in the first Cloverfield or in Cloverfield Lane. This is a different Earth, and in this dimension, they brought a fuck ton of monsters. In our Earth in 2008, we got one monster.
But I think that's why I was so pissed when
In
he said that.
Cloverfield Lane, they got aliens.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I was so pissed. Like, they're having it both ways, literally. Like, they're saying, like, yes, this is a connected universe because of the events in this straight-to-Netflix movie that Paramount passed up on and shit on in the press right before it came out.
What'd they say, Pap? I saw you said that earlier. What'd they say?
I think it was just like they were saying something to the extent of like the reshoots weren't going to be worth it or something, like, which makes sense. I don't know how you reshoot this into like an actually good movie. Like, if you paid to see this in theaters, it'd be way worse. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, seeing it on Netflix kind of lowers the standard. But what I was saying was, like, when you say that, when you say like all, like, throughout all of time and all of space and all of dimensions, like, you're trying to ground it in something, but now it's like, okay, but nothing else has to make sense. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
But every story's in a different dimension. Good luck. So it's also kind of just like shitting on all the speculators, which they definitely asked for with the ARG crap. So, I mean, that's my understanding. Like, they're trying to have it both ways. But
yeah, and like that's like why I kind of wanted to, like, when people are saying like what her husband was seeing was the events of the first Cloverfield, what does that trailer made it look like? The trailer for the Super Bowl made it look like we were going to be seeing the events from
Yeah.
a different view. And it wasn't even the same Earth.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the same monster in the same New York and same Earth. So that's what really bothered me. It was
I was really hoping for like some truly like clearly thought out and defined like connecting plot devices between all these movies, and there's some, but it seems like they scrapped that idea. Or maybe JJ didn't have it planned out before he made the first Cloverfield or something. And
I promise you he didn't have
boxed
anything
in.
planned out.
like, this is really frustrating.
Why even make that trailer that way though? It looked like it was a totally different movie to me. That trailer,
like you said, they even show the head of the Statue of Liberty flying through the city. Like it happened in the first one. You're like, oh man, like we're gonna get an actual connection. You know, and it's just the connection is dimensions away. Like Pappy said, they're trying to have it both ways.
I mean, I guess like I think like Netflix has had a couple of years in a row now where they've had a Super Bowl commercial. I think this was just like them trying to make a splash. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to them if the movie's good or not. You know what I mean? They're probably just measuring like the impact of that ad. Like, but it's just so disappointing because like, yeah, I don't even know. Do you think they'll make another one? And do you care?
Comes out in October.
I heard that the fourth one was. Yeah, I heard it was already.
It's already made.
Filmed.
Who is it? God Particle or is it something else?
It's called Overlord. It's about World War II. It's about two American paratroopers being stuck over enemy lines, dealing with supernatural forces.
So essentially, like in that 2-minute telecast of Alex Jones, who we were just like making fun of, they basically retconned the whole franchise and saying that anything can happen at any time, but it's all part of the same universe because you have to watch the one on Netflix to get why. Stupid.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
It's like a sequel and a prequel at the same time.
It's a bummer.
That's the best way I can describe Paradox.
It's a paradox of what it is.
But yeah, I don't know. This one sounds interesting, and at least it's going to be in theaters. Trying to see this director, Julius Avery, what else he's made. Nothing very known. Yeah.
The guy who made this is pretty unknown too, right?
Yeah.
Julius Ona. Never heard of him.
Back-to-back Juliuses?
See, the guy who wrote the movie...
That's the mystery.
The guy who wrote the movie wrote Captain Phillips. He wrote The Hunger Games. Let's see here.
Where's Julius? Well, okay, the guy who wrote Cloverfield Paradox also wrote 22 Jump Street, which I feel like he couldn't get away from the comedy enough. It's a huge problem.
Wait, what?
The guy who wrote this wrote 22 Jump Street.
Really?
Yeah. Or was a writer, wrote the screenplay.
Ooh. Yeah. Known for 22 jumps, yeah. Ooh. Well, yeah, there was a pretty bad force comedy in this movie. Should we get into the yes or no's?
Yeah, I'll start. This is
Pappy.
Yeah.
This is a hard no for me. I feel silly about all the speculation I've done. I hate that in one 5-minute news clip, like all of that was wiped away.
Yeah, that news clip is rough.
But the thing of it is like I can't even get mad at the direction they chose to take the story in. It's the fact that this movie is just such a piece of shit too. Like everything that was good about Cloverfield, they took and made it bad. Like they over-explain. The scope of the story is way too big across literally time and space and 3 or 4 different planets or something. It's just a mess. Like, not to mention the casual racism. And there's one part too, I don't think we mentioned, like our main protagonist's husband is down on Earth. He's got a kid in the front seat. And he's fucking texting and driving. And the kid's like, don't text and drive. And the dad's like, only in emergencies, and continues to like not look at the road at all for like 5 minutes on end. It's just like, what the fuck is this movie? It's a hard no, and I feel like Paramount got the last laugh on this, and I'm less pumped about the next Cloverfield than if they wouldn't have released this at all. Kind of a bummer.
Mikey.
I'm also upset. The connected universe thing is now no more. Well, I don't even know what they want to call it now, but it's not what I had thought the plan was. I just wanted some more things explained, and I guess this only left more questions unanswered. Still don't know too much about the monsters or if that plot line is ever going to come back and get thought out more or anything from JJ, but I'll give it a soft no. It's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's definitely the weakest of the Cloverfield movies, and I was really hoping more from the ad during the Super Bowl, because that movie that was advertised is a totally different movie from what I could tell. It looked... That's what I wanted to see from this next Cloverfield movie, was like going back to New York and having some stuff either explained or elaborated on more from the first movie.
I'll say this, Stevie,
So
before you give your yes or no. This is the best movie of 2018 we've spoiled so far this year. So it's got that going.
Do you want to spoil Hostels tomorrow?
I'll spoil anything else to dethrone this.
Oh, I saw Hostels the other day.
Want to spoil it tomorrow, Money?
Yeah.
I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah, I can.
Cute.
Yeah.
I will give this a soft yes. I think this is probably the weakest Cloverfield out of the three, with Lane being the best. I don't know. I just like these movies. Even
Wait, did you say yes?
Yeah, I gave it a yes.
Oh.
I want to like it. I want to like them.
You said no. Oh.
No, I'll give this movie a yes. I like these movies. This is definitely the weakest one, but I just hope they keep making more. I find them really interesting. I didn't have to pay for it in a theater, so that's a plus. And hopefully the next one will be released in theaters and is better. My biggest fear is that they're taking movies that get shelved and adding Cloverfield things into them to make them Cloverfield movies. I think that's what this one was. I think God Particle was already made. And they're like, oh, we can put some Cloverfield stuff in here and make it huge. But that did not end up being the case.
That'd be like the weirdest practice to.
But they literally did
movies.
That for.
I mean, it seems like it'd be cost effective. It would be cost effective.
Didn't they do that for the 10 Lane?
You're really.
They took a script and rewrote it to make it Cloverfield. But this is a soft yes. Hopefully Overlord is far, far better. But that's it from me. You guys have anything else to say?
It was on Netflix.
Yeah,
I
it's on
can't complain
Netflix.
too much. I mean, it was.
This is going to be in everyone's bottom 10
Just watch it.
at the end of the year. I guarantee it. Not saying it's one of the worst, but it's gonna be in a lot of people's bottom 10.
How can they complain?
I mean, I'm never gonna watch it again.
Yeah, unless there's like some serious breadcrumbs to come back to in the next movie. Highly doubtful. But thank you for listening. Anything else?
Math teacher mark math paper.
You're bringing that back again? Aw, that's rough. Alrighty, well, that was spoilers. Let's kick it on over to Spoiler Man.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcastspoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme. Our number is 903-776-4507. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes. Please don't forget to leave us a review by searching for Movie Spoilers, clicking on the cereal bowl, select the Reviews tab, and leave us some stars and some words. That was spoilers.
Mobatha Raw.